Now, before we start things off, I have one thing to say real quick, and that is that I am not a psychologist. I am merely an enthusiast with a can-do attitude. If you need mental professional help or whatever, please seek actual professional help. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Chaos. My name is vlad, the-tek, and today we're going to be talking about God. No, not that one. Yeah, that one. You know, the one from the book. Not that book. That one. Now, as I just mentioned, I've had a unique interest in psychology to the point where I'm thinking that maybe if I get enough money together one day, maybe I could actually pursue a psychology degree a psychology career, of some kind. And of course, I obviously have an obsession with mental health and things that can affect it. And of course, religion is also tied in there too, because really all these things are rather intertwined. So I sat down and thought on this idea for a little bit of, you know, what if God was just a regular person? Just a regular average Joe? Bear with me on this. If he went to a psychologist, what would a psychologist have to say about that? Unfortunately, he doesn't exist, so we will just never know. Or do we? You see, the thing about people speaking for God means that God has kind of already spoken his mind in that good book people keep citing all the time. I hear it's good, so we can assume that through these different prophets and things that have written in the Bible or spoken about God in some way, shape, or form, that is what God thinks and feels. So we're already halfway to solving this equation. So we're going to be taking a look into the psychology of God. I don't know if this is going to become a series or not. I sure would like to make it one. So if you guys like it, go ahead and tell me in the comment section below that you do, and I will probably make more of these on the psychology behind God. Or maybe you can jump on over to Patreon, join me there, and tell me over there. Now, the first thing that you would typically do when you walk into a therapist's office, which I've done a lot, can't you tell? There's always a questionnaire, and somewhere along there, it's basically trying to figure out why you're there, what things are troubling you, and other things that you might want to ask the therapist questions about. Considering God has a short fuse, I would assume he wouldn't be there of his own accord. I'm pretty sure he'd be there again, pretty much against his will, which is kind of fun to think about. I am God, may my will be done. Sorry, but you're gonna have to go to court-mandated therapy. What is this bullshit? So that already pretty much takes care of that entire questionnaire, because just knowing that he would be there after getting sent to prison or some shit pretty much tells us all we need to know. Typically, people get sent to prison for violating social norms. In other words, typically you're going to be found guilty of a crime. So that already gives most people a kind of angle to look at, so to speak. There are a couple of different pathologies that could play into the type of behavior that would get somebody sent to prison, and it's not necessarily good. And of course, there's one insanely bad one that's on pretty much everyone's mind, and I know for a fact you've already come to that conclusion because you clicked on this video. But in order to even come close to getting that diagnosis set in stone, we have to rule out a couple of different pathologies first, such as substance abuse. Which I don't know if God's the type to snort cocaine, but probably not. You can believe me, I googled it. And I'm pretending to be a doctor, so I automatically know what I'm talking about. With substance abuse rolled out, that leaves only 3 different pathologies we can explore. And to figure out which one the patient has, we all have to look at the behaviors as well as the thoughts and emotions behind said behaviors. We will start with the most likely candidate, borderline personality disorder. Alright, so I'm just going to read off a quick overview of what borderline personality disorder is, primarily because I don't really know all that much about it myself, so let's get to that. Borderline personality disorder is an illness marked by an ongoing pattern of varying moods, self-image, and behavior. These symptoms often result in impulsive actions and problems in relationships. People with borderline personality disorder may experience intense episodes of anger, depression, and anxiety that can last from a few hours to days. This is different from bipolar disorder, where you can have manic highs and low lows. People with borderline personality disorder just tend to feel really intense emotions at, well, random. It's seemingly out of nowhere. That's my limited understanding of it. If somebody actually does have borderline personality disorder, feel free to talk about it either in the comment section below or over on the Discord server, which, by the way, gonna have a mental health section just for stuff like this. People with borderline personality disorder also tend to view things in extremes, such as all good or all bad. Their opinions of other people can also change quickly. An individual who is seen as a friend one day may be considered an enemy or traitor the next. These shifting feelings can lead to intense and unstable relationships. Considering how many contradictions are in the Bible, I would say that God probably changes his mood a lot, and his mind, and everything. But again, we have to look at the reasons behind his actions. Are the reasons he's changing his mind rational, or are they irrational? Is he doing it on purpose, or is he doing it purely based on emotion? One way to find out if he's doing this maliciously or if he's doing this purely emotionally is to actually look at two different books in the Bible. The first one being Exodus, because that's where he actually lays out the 10 Commandments. And then later in Ezekiel, when he recalls the 10 Commandments, saying that he gave us statutes that he knew were not good, that we couldn't follow, purely to horrify us. In other words, he knows what the laws he gave us we could not actually follow. Which, by the way, the 10 Commandments that you're probably thinking of are not really the 10 Commandments. Maybe I'll do a video on that later. Anywho, the fact that he's able to recount that event and look back on it as he knew what he was doing, and he did it purely to manipulate people. That clearly rules out that this is not an emotional mood stability problem. So it's not like he's having these highs and lows, basically flipping all around all over the place. He is doing these things intentionally. In other words, we can completely rule out borderline personality disorder entirely because it's clearly not a mood stability issue. Which brings us down to two possible pathologies that he might actually have. I would say that he's suffering from them, but it seems more or less like everyone else is suffering from them. Which is why we know he would only go to therapy if it was against his will. Which is ironic. That brings us to narcissistic personality disorder. Narcissistic personality disorder, one of several types of disorders, is a mental condition in which people have an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. But behind this mask of extreme confidence lies a fragile self-esteem that's vulnerable to the slightest criticism. There, I said it. Well, I think he definitely has an inflated sense of self-ego, saying that you should definitely love him and trust him beyond anyone else. A narcissistic personality disorder causes problems in areas of life, such as relationships, work, school, or financial affairs. People with narcissistic personality disorder may be generally unhappy and disappointed. I don't know why that made me laugh. People with narcissistic personality disorder may be generally unhappy and disappointed when they're not given the special favors or admiration they believe they deserve. They may find their relationships unfulfilling, and others may not enjoy being around them. Okay, so this is starting to sound more like our patient. God is our patient. Of course he is. We created him. So, let's examine some of the symptoms, see what he exhibits, and actually try to figure out the methods behind the madness. Remember, people who are with narcissistic personality disorder do feel empathy. They just don't really express it that well. Alright, so here are some of the signs and symptoms. An exaggerated sense of self-importance. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understandings. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Yep, I would say so. Have a sense of entitlement and require constant, excessive admiration. Expect to be recognized superior, even without achievements that warrant it. I am the Lord thy God, and thou shalt not have any other gods before me. Exaggerated achievements and talents. Not to brag or anything, but, I created, people in the world and light. And I also invented the sun and the moon and the rest of the world. Did you know I invented the earth in the dark? Not bragging or anything. Are preoccupied with fantasies about success, power, brilliance, beauty, or the perfect mate. Believe they are superior and can only associate with equally special people. Monopolize conversations and belittle or look down on people they perceive as inferior. In Exodus, didn't he tell his people to actually murder a whole other tribe? I don't know about God, but Jesus compared non-Jews to dogs. And chances are, if Jesus believes it, the Father probably does too. So we got that. Expect special favors and unquestioning compliance with their expectations. Then God said to Abraham, "You will kill your son Isaac." Takes advantage of others to get what they want. I remember this myth that Christians like to spread that Lucifer told the first lie, which is wrong because Lucifer wasn't in the Garden of Eden. And two, the serpent that they were referring to actually told the truth while God was lying. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's taking advantage of children so that they can't, have knowledge or eternal life. Have an inability or unwillingness to recognize the needs and feelings of others. I think he does this all the time when he pretty much says that women are subservient to men. I don't know if everyone else in the world knows this, but women kind of need to be people, Can be envious of others and believes others envy them. Behave in an arrogant or haughty manner, coming across as conceited, boastful, and pretentious. Insist on having the best of everything. For instance, the best car or office or the entire world as slaves. At the same time, people with narcissistic personality disorder have trouble handling anything they perceive as criticism, and they can become impatient or angry when they don't receive special treatment, have significant interpersonal problems, and easily feel slighted. React with rage or contempt and try to belittle the other person to make themselves appear superior. Have difficulty regulating emotions and behaviors. Experience major problems dealing with stress and adapting to change. Feel depressed and moody because they fall short of perfection. Have secret feelings of insecurity, shame, vulnerability, and humility. I don't know about you guys, but the last two kinda are the defining factor of somebody having narcissistic personality disorder. And our last pathology we're going to talk about God possibly having, and that's antisocial personality disorder. Now, people with antisocial personality disorder have been associated with being psychopaths and sociopaths, but it's both true and not true at the same time. Sociopaths and psychopaths are two different things, and there's really no diagnostic criteria for either one. The general consensus is basically moral compass. A psychopath will have literally no remorse in what they're doing. They have no care in the world about what their actions are going to do. Think about people like Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, and Charles Manson. These people killed indiscriminately with no remorse at all. They didn't care about what their actions did to other people or what consequences may become of such actions. So now it's important to differentiate what the difference is between antisocial personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder, because God's got one of these, and they check a lot of the same boxes with one important distinction. Here are the diagnostic criterias for antisocial personality disorder: a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others since age 15, as indicated by 3 or more of the following: failure to conform to social norms concerning lawful behavior, such as performing acts that are grounds for arrest, inciting people to kill time and time and time and time again, sometimes just to make him happy. Yeah, I think that is a complete disregard for the law there. In fact, it's worth mentioning that most laws before Moses actually got the 10 Commandments, which, by the way, Moses never existed, said that you shouldn't kill. So it was already against the law not to kill people. I mean, it was already against the law to kill people. So yeah, God had literally no concern for that. Deceitfulness, repeated lying, use of aliases, or conning others for pleasure or personal profit. He definitely cons other people for personal pleasure and possibly profit. I mean, he does say that he wants people to be his slaves. Repeated lying. He contradicts himself all the time, and as previously mentioned, that story in Genesis, the snake was the one who told the truth, while God lied and said that you will die if you eat from these 2 trees. As far as use of aliases, what is his name? Seriously, what is his name? We've got El, Abba, Allah, Yahweh, Yahuwah, and Jehovah. Which one is it? Impulsivity or failure to plan. I don't know, the contradictions in the Bible might be just that, a failure to plan. But where do you come up with something like telling people that they have to sacrifice their firstborn sons to you? I think that counts as an impulsive behavior. Irritability and aggressiveness, often with physical fights or assaults. Again, he tells people to kill each other all the damn time. Reckless disregard for safety of self or others. He tells people to kill people all the fucking time. Consistent irresponsibility, failure to sustain consistent work behavior, or honor monetary obligations. I mean, he constantly tells people that he has to give to the clergy, so I don't think he's, I don't think God can't write a check, If being creator of the universe and all that entails counts as a job, then he's doing a really shitty job. Consistent irresponsibility. Well, we have Adam and Eve, Sodom and Gomorrah, and a whole host of different examples of God just being plain irresponsible. Also the book of Job. The book where he makes a bet with the devil. Lack of remorse. Being indifferent or rationalizing having hurt, mistreated, or stolen from another person. What's God's excuse for making people kill each other or sacrifice people? They deserve it. They're non-believers. They don't deserve my love or your love because they don't believe in me and they don't love me as you do. That's rationalization right there. The individual is at least 18 years of age. Evidence of conduct disorder typically with onset before age 15. The occurrence of antisocial behavior is not exclusively during schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. I'm not sure if God sees things or not. As far as being bipolar, again, he is lucid when these things happen. He knows exactly what's going on. So it can't be the result of bipolar disorder or even borderline personality disorder for that instance. Specifically, what are we looking for when we are trying to differentiate a narcissist from a psychopath? Which, yes, if diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, God would actually be a psychopath because he would have no regards for the safety or for his own actions at all. Remember, this is an individual who believes that they are above everyone else. I created the fucking universe. You think you're above me? Well, you're not thinking right. The main difference between these two disorders are they capable of forming genuine emotional attachments with others. Narcissists can actually do that. Relationships with a narcissist are often abusive, but they can have feelings for other people or animals. Whereas one of the early signs of psychopathy is torturing animals for fun, which God does. Even if he's just torturing people, people are still animals. We're talking about a person who actually tells people to sacrifice their firstborn children to gain his love, and constantly tells you to promotes self-gaslighting in order to give him admiration and praise. He wants your constant attention, he wants your devoted servitude, and your money, and your best grains, and your firstborn. And he straight up has no regard for his actions and doesn't care about you. In my unprofessional opinion, if God were just a regular average Joe, he would be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. Hands down, God would be classified as a psychopath. Thank Jesus he's not real. And that's going to conclude today's talk about the psychology of God. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below, especially if you want to see this become a series all on its own. I do have a couple of different ideas, particularly how God actually inspires things like gaslighting, which is strictly a very abusive behavior, one which I have personal experience with, by the way. I've been in a few abusive relationships myself. I'm also live streaming every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. So if you want to catch me gaming in the flesh, you can go there. You'll also see me stimming because I'm autistic. And if you want to support me personally, go ahead and check out the link in the description below to my Patreon account, where you can help support me and get special perks such as your name in the credits and special roles for Discord. As I stated in a previous video, I will start honoring those once we've reached a certain number of Patreon supporters. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed it, feel free to show me some love down below by hitting the like button, and don't forget to check out the annotations for more videos. And I will see you in the next video.